Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to day 107, yes, of the Free to Hope presents 12 steps applied to COVID-19. Yes, the 12 steps adopted by the Alcoholics Anonymous Fellowship over 80 plus years ago. No, I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous, but I've been a proud and grateful member for over 31 years. Let me show you. Yes, as of February the 21st of 2021, we celebrated 31 years of spiritual growth, spiritual awakenings, spiritual transformation, increased maturity, and a psychic change to some degree. Yes, one day at a time, 31 years later, to God be the glory. But guess what? We also have survived, me and 7 members of my family, 107 days free from COVID-19. Yes, we can breathe, we can smell, we can taste, we can see, we can feel, we can hear, but the goal is to listen. Listen to these 12 steps that are spiritual in nature and apply them to COVID-19 so that we can be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem just by washing our hands, social distancing, right? Contact tracing, wearing a mask, getting tested, and getting vaccinated. But guess what? Our Creator breathed life into you today, breathed life into me today, woke you up this morning, woke me up this morning, because we know with this COVID-19 pandemic and other variants, some people did not wake up this morning. Some have already transitioned. There are those suffering at this very second from COVID-19, not knowing whether they're going to live or die. Families are heartbroken, aching for their loved ones they cannot see, they cannot touch. Those who are experiencing severe symptoms from COVID-19, and those who are doing the right thing regarding COVID-19 to stop its perpetuation. Yes, and even so, those who are still defiant, still careless, still stubborn, still self-centered, selfish, right? And they just don't get it. In a 12-step program, we say that there are some of us who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with ourselves. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. Are you one of those incapable individuals who just can't be honest that this COVID-19 is real? Well, maybe you have to go through what I went through and contract it and infect members of my family. Do you want that on your conscience, right? Do you want to be the person responsible for losing loved ones or others? No. Therefore, we need to give homage to our Creator who knows the beginning, the middle, and the end, as we as a human race simultaneously deal with the devastating impact, outcomes, effects, and fatalities of COVID-19. But he offers a solution, and they are in the 12 spiritual principles. So with that, we want to give him homage, and we want to pay homage to all human beings who are having this knee-bowing experience around the world. But we can be in the prevention, intervention, or restoration mode. We can be proactive or inactive or reactive, or we can be responsible. But before we get into any more of this recovery conversation, let's give 30 seconds of homage to our Creator and to the entire human race as we battle this COVID-19 pandemic. Join me as we practice this in all 12-step programs, giving a moment of silence. 30 seconds. Join me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you on behalf of my higher power, who I choose to call God. Thank you on behalf of every human being in whatever stage they are in. In the 12-step program, we learn to be our brothers and sisters keepers. And if I had not became a drug addict and alcoholic, I would not have been introduced to the 12 spiritual principles that helped me to achieve a psychic change, to put down the drink and the drugs, to find out what was going on in the inside that I needed to reveal in order to heal. But through these 12 spiritual principles, the God of my understanding 31 years ago met me underneath a parked car in the streets of Philadelphia, 3 o'clock in the morning, and said, Edwina, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Why? Because I cried out to this God that I didn't know to take me out this life or show me a better way. And he met me underneath that parked car, prepared me underneath that parked car, and delivered me from underneath that parked car. Why? Because he wanted to prepare me to sit before you to share my experience, my strength, my hope, and my wisdom of practicing these 12 spiritual principles in all my affairs. He also allowed me to contract COVID-19. Why? Because I was defiant, I was rebellious, I was stubborn. I still had a little bit of that attitude of being invincible. And I contracted COVID-19 and infected members of my family from the age of 2 to 78. But guess what? He once again delivered me, right? From COVID-19 and my family members to prepare me to sit before you, to share my experience, my strength, my hope, my wisdom, my lack of wisdom, my bad choices, my bad decisions, so that you don't have to make the same mistake. You can be a part of the solution by saving your life, the lives of your loved ones, the lives of others, your culture, your community, your city, your state, your country. And if we do this simultaneously around the world, we can, we will, we must stop this perpetuation of the devastating impact, effects, outcome, and fatalities of COVID-19. My job is to just touch one. And I don't know who you are, where you are. And hopefully you will be inspired, You will be motivated to say, where are the steps? And let me get the step in. Well, that's what this recovery conversation is all about, which started back in April of 2020 as a result of an article by Dr. Scott T. Allison in Psychology Today that stated we can benefit from the wisdom of 12-step programs, right? Also, Jason Waller's, his breakdown of all the 12 steps in a narrative posing questions so that a child can even understand them. Those are the two resources that I use. And as of April the 1st, I've been presenting the 12 steps with my experience, my strength, and my hope, right? Until such time I contracted COVID-19 in November. Well, my family started it in October, November, and December. And I, on December the 3rd, hit that button and showed you what transparency looks like and what COVID-19 looked like on me. So if you are from Missouri, not literally, but the show me state, let me show you right now what COVID-19 looked like on me. And you will see that I am not lying. I am being transparent. I sat in front of you just like I am on that screen with no dentures and no makeup, no mask on, no nothing. But as the recovery process continued, I got better. And why? Because I achieved that psychic change that I had knowledge of, but for whatever reason, did not apply it to COVID-19. Well, You better believe I'm applying it now. So before we go on with our recovery principle number 8, part 5, I want to acknowledge my sponsors. And my sponsors are very supportive. Why? Because we want this information to be free to any and everybody who chooses to listen, right? To listen, huh? Listening implies action. You listen to learn, and you learn to listen. Not just hear. Hear goes in one ear and out the other, but to listen. And so as a result of listening, we will, have a devastating impact on and stopping the perpetuation of COVID-19. So my sponsors support me and the cause because they too are practicing the CDC suggestions and are learning, as you are, about the 12 steps that are spiritual in nature. So we want this to be free. And if it's God's will that we become syndicated, then it will be his will. It will happen, and he knows I'm ready. To God be the glory. Transparency is my motto. The truth will set you free, and I don't mind telling anybody and everybody the truth. The sooner we tell ourselves the truth, the sooner we can get better. So here are my sponsors, and please patronize them, all right, as you go out and about. They are MDB Associates, Dr. Mary Douglas Bailey, Patchwork Human Services by Ebony Madry, Levante and Dorsey and Associates, Academy of Peace, my dear friend, spiritual mentor, Dr. J. Macklin, Crafty Crab Seafood Restaurant. I had my 31st anniversary there. Free to Hope, from recovery, emerge empowered. To do what? To give hope to others, help others prosper equally. I also want to acknowledge Women Do Haul Transportation Services. Mr. C's Barbershop is responsible for my crown. Morgans of Delaware and Lady T at Morgans of Delaware. A lot of my attire and Afro-centric attire is from those ladies. Jewelry by Catherine Butler, Jones Accessories of Philadelphia. Morning Wake Up with my spiritual partner, Tamika Strickland, right? And Divine Light Recovery Center supporting housing. Divine Light coincides with Dr. Carl John, Dr. Bob, and Bill W. when it was identified that people with the disease of alcoholism need divine intervention, divine providence to be led to the divine light. So if you want to be a sponsor, please contact me at edwina.bell@yahoo.com or 302-690-6679. If you just want to make a donation, contribution, because you believe in touching others with the truth, getting others to realize that this COVID-19 is real so that I can increase my platform, upgrade my equipment, send $, free to Hope if you care to. In the meantime, please support my sponsors. Next, we want to be able to recognize my resources as I shared before, and they are Dr. Scott T. Allison. In his article in Psychology Today, he focused from an Al-Anon, anonymous point of view, how we can obtain wisdom from the 12-step programs, and they can help us get us through back then, April 2020, when we had a few cases, but now we are close to 550,000 cases, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. That's why we can be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem by learning, applying, and practice these 12 spiritual principles. And I recommend highly using Jason Waller's breakdown of the 12 steps. He comes from the Alcoholics Anonymous approach, but they work. So how can we apply these 12 spiritual principles to COVID-19, well, I want to show you right now, okay? Overview of the 12 steps as we apply them to COVID-19. One, we admitted we were powerless over COVID-19 and that our lives have become unmanageable. This is the only step that we need to take, 100% total acceptance without any reservations. Two, came to believe that a power or powers greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, which only means soundness of mind. That greater power could be CDC suggestions, tangible evidence, experiences of others like mine, or your higher power if you choose to call him God, the creator, the force. Three, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. If that power or powers greater than you are working for your good and in your best interest, why wouldn't we want to keep making decisions to turn our will and our lives over in order to stop this perpetuation of COVID-19? Right? Okay, recovery principle number 4. This is where we get to the nitty-gritty of the steps. Made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves, right? When, where, and how were your character defects formulated, such as selfishness, defiance, stubborn, egotistical, pride, right? 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. We select persons who will not co-sign our stuff, but help us get to the exact nature and the core of our character defects, and most of them is based in fear. But in recovery, we say the acronym for fear is face everything and recover. Then we come to recovery principle number 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all defects of character. It's like that onion layered with all kinds of defects. And we want to become ready to have our Creator remove them in his time and in his way. Just be ready. So whatever stands in the way of wearing a mask, social distancing, getting tested, washing our hands, getting vaccinated, remove them so we can save our lives and save the lives of others, right? So let's go to recovery principle number 7 through 9, and they are, all right, okay, wait a minute, I'm going too fast here. Take your time, and when I get excited, what can I say? 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. Now that we have some awareness of our character defects, now is the time to ask him to remove them. When you fall short, i.e., wanting to lie, getting ready to lie, or having a desire to cheat, right? Or getting ready to steal. What about not wearing a mask? What about not washing your hands? Ask him to remove our shortcomings. 8, which is the step we are on for the last 5 days, made a list of all persons we had harmed. Who did I harm first? Me. Then who else did I harm in any way, shape, form, or fashion regarding COVID-19? How and in what way did I cause harm? Am I now willing to make amends to them all? Absolutely. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others, even yourself. So what type of amends should we make, Direct or indirect? Change of behaviors? Yes. Evaluate motives, right? Timing is important. Be on solid spiritual ground when you go to make these amends, and there's a reason why. So let's go to the last 3 principles, and they are number 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Now that we have conducted a moral inventory in step 4, we commence to practice being mindful of our every thought, deed, attitude, actions, behaviors regarding COVID-19. And when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it to ourselves and, if needed, to others. Number 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry this out. By this time, you have practiced prayer and meditation in one shape, form, or fashion, i.e., help me to be obedient to wearing a mask, washing my hands, etc., right? Listening to others' experiences, quieting the mind, right? Focusing our thoughts, right? Making that spiritual connection to identify our purpose at any moment, place, or time, right? Just getting to know him better to seek and carry out his will for us. And 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others regarding COVID-19 and to practice these principles in all our affairs. I have experienced a spiritual transformation by using these principles to address all physical conditions and to be an attraction to others by sharing your experience, your strength, and your hope, as we are doing today. You will develop spiritual habits in order to make decisions and choices from a spiritual angle. And so that is a preview of the 12 spiritual principles as we apply them to COVID-19. So go to Dr. Scott T. Allison's article in Psychology Today, right? March the 31st of 2020. Please download Jason Waller's breaking down of the 12 steps so you can follow me or you can study them in the comfort of your home. But in other words, please use the resources that's available and listen as I interject my experience, my strength, my hope, my wisdom, my lack of wisdom, my bad and good decisions or choices, right? But I know that I have achieved a psychic change as a result of contracting COVID-19 and infecting members of my family in spite of having knowledge of the 12 steps. So in recovery, we say we make progress. We will never achieve perfection. And so I have achieved a psychic change and I wear my mask, wash my hands, social distancing, right? Contact tracing, getting tested and getting vaccinated. You still from Missouri? All right, check this out. Here go my first shot, right? On February the 6th, right? Here it is. You ever been excited about getting the needle? I am, yes. Here it goes. Bang! There it is. No problem. Hardly felt it, right? All right. So let's go to the second shot, right? Here. And hear what she says.
All right. Okay. Let's get you a little shot of hope here, my dear.
A shot of hope. Did you hear that? A shot of hope. So I learned by doing my research, asking questions, obtaining additional information, and learned that the vaccine shot only shortens or decrease the severity of the symptoms should I contract COVID-19, which will prevent me from being hospitalized and also can prevent me from succumbing to the fatality of COVID-19. So you better believe I'm taking that shot. We take off all these masks, right? We need to take them off and put on the mask that saves our lives, all right? So now that you're from Missouri, I got my shot. I got my shots, right? I get tested, right? I do the CDC suggestions and I learn more every day. Keep informed, all right? So what we're going to do now before we continue with recovery principle number 8, I want to show you another portion of my earlier podcast, and we are focusing on recovery principle number 4. So if you want to see any of my broadcasts, go back to April the 1st and catch up. If you want to see when it started from me recovering from COVID-19, go to December the 3rd. So enjoy, but listen. Okay. I'll respond if you even ask me to respond. So I'm able to present myself to you who I am. Now these are some nice glasses, aren't they? But I used to buy glasses for $150, $200 for reading glasses. Guess what? These cost $1. And I can see very well. I can read very well out of them. Transparency. Because I worked on the inside. And so I'm glad that I started off this way because today's recovery principle we're going to be focused on is recovery principle number 4 that says, made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves. Recovery principle number 4 that we're going to be focusing on today, this morning, is recovery principle number 4, made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves. This is the exact time to thy own self be true. And we're going to talk about that once I give you an overview of what all the 12 recovery principles are, and then I'll focus on recovery principle number 4. So, on day 1, I presented an overview of what we're going to be discussing for this free to hope conversation, presentation, if you will. Free from recovery, emerge empowered. From recovery, emerge empowered. To give hope, help others prosper equally, not financially, not materialistically, but prosper spiritually by using these 12 recovery principles. Okay? And so, day 1, as a result of the month of April, and taking the challenge that Dr. Allison stated, share the wisdom of a 12-step program with others. And that's why I'm sitting here before you today. I'm doing my part. I can't change what's going on in the world. I need to accept what's going on in the world. But I have found courage to change the things I can by walking through the fear and doing it anyway. So I don't know who's out there listening. I don't know who's out there watching. It's not for me to know. My job is to be obedient, to do what I can do. And so I provided that overview of the 12 recovery principles that we're going to be talking about for the next 25 days. I made a commitment for the month of April to do these presentations, have these conversations with you. So you may ask, what are the recovery principles? Well, recovery principle number 1 is we admit it, we were powerless over, and you fill out the blank, and our lives had become unmanageable. For instance, I would say, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, and that my life had become unmanageable. What are you powerless over? Are you powerless over this coronavirus pandemic? To a certain extent, you are. Is your life unmanageable as a result of this pandemic? Yes. Loss of job, loss of income, loss of serenity, loss of peace, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do. I'm drinking, I'm not drinking, I'm fighting, I'm not fighting. Yes. Don't know where to turn, don't know where to go. It has made our lives unmanageable. But we need to admit that. We need to admit what we are powerless over. And that as a result of that power exhibiting, as a result of that situation, creating this powerlessness feeling, and my life has become unmanageable, I need to say that I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Help me. But first you have to admit that you need help. You have to admit that you need help. You even have to admit that you want help. Because once you find that you need help, eventually you'll want help. Yes. So recovery principle number 1 is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, being raped, domestic violence, loss of job. And as a result of those things happening, it is the truth. It is what happened. And as a result of what happened, my life became unmanageable. I need to admit that. This is a we program. You are not alone. You are not alone. And the 12 recovery principles let you know that you're not the only one going through it. Yes, my feelings are my feelings, your feelings are your feelings, but collectively, we can be empowered individually to help ourselves and to help others. So that's recovery principle number 1. Recovery principle number 2 says, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And what does sanity mean? Soundness of mind. Recovery principle number 2 says, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Well, how does that relate to recovery principle number 1? Well, once I admitted I was powerless over and my life had become unmanageable, where do I go? What do I seek? A power greater than me that can help restore me to soundness of mind. When we go to a 12 recovery principle meeting, that's a power greater than me because there's more people there. When I read literature and information and get involved in service work, that's a power greater than me because I'm stepping outside of myself and utilizing the help that's available for that power that's greater than me. So recovery principle number 2 is came to believe that a power greater than me could restore me to sanity, if you will, soundness of mind. Recovery principle number 3 says, which we did yesterday, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Now, if you were like me, underneath that parked car, I said whoever they say you are. I didn't have a concept of a loving and caring God. I was taught God was a punishing God. So a power greater than me took different forms until I realized that power that's truly greater than me is the God as I understand him. So why wouldn't I make a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of the God of my understanding? So the first 3 steps says, I can't, he can, and I'm going to make a decision to let him. Yes. What we're going to talk about today is recovery principle number 4, which is made a searching and fearless more inventory of ourselves. And I'm going to come back to that. Recovery principle number 5 says, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. What do you mean by exact nature? Once we identify some character defects that we all have, jealousy, insecurity, fear, the competitive spirit, once we identify those defects of our character, we want to get to the exact nature of them. Where did they start? Where did they come from? Who was involved? What is it really? That means going inside. Yes. But we, like in recovery principle number 1, we need to admit to God, who already knows, to ourselves, we definitely know what we did, said. But the challenge is to another human being. Why to another human being? Because whoever you choose And hopefully, it's someone who understands these 12 recovery principles can help you, can help each other navigate to get to the exact nature of our wrongs. Why did you really do it, Edwina? No, no, no. Why did you really do it, Edwina? No, no, no. No, Edwina, why did you really do it?
Really do it. Yes.
And once we get to that exact nature, we have been true to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been true to others. And we've admitted the truth to a God who already knows. Recovery principle number 6 says, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. That makes sense? So if I identified what some of my character defects are, and I was able to get to the exact nature of those character defects, wouldn't I want them to be removed? And all recovery principle number 6 states is that I need to be entirely ready to have God remove all those defects of character. Higher power, creator. And by the time we get to recovery principle number 6, there's only one force that can remove not some but all those character defects. Why? Because he is preparing us for things yet to come. And we want to eliminate all those character defects that could hinder being useful to God and to other people. Yes, that's why we need to be entirely ready. Recovery principle number 7 says, humbly remove our shortcomings. Humbly. Ooh. How many of you practice humility? How many of you want to be humble? Oh, yeah. Humility is not new to us. When there were things that we wanted and we manipulated and we tried to scheme and con, we practiced humility.
Mm-hmm.
We were humbled, but in a negative way, with ulterior motives. But with the 12 recovery principles, we know who we are humbly asking. We're asking God to remove that shortcoming. I know I should not have flirted with that guy. I knew it was wrong, and I fell short. I knew it was wrong, but I just did it. And I say, God, help me. I shouldn't have did that. I humbly remove that shortcoming because I know where that flirtatious nature will get me. Help me to remove that shortcoming. Humbly ask him to remove our shortcoming. And that means that where we fall short as we are making progress, not perfection, we are making progress toward becoming a better person, a more honest person, a more responsible person, a more loving person, a more understanding person, that we're going to fall short along the way as we are trying to get better. And recovery principle number 7 is the solution. When you recognize it, when you are aware of it, ask him to remove it. Recovery principle number 8 states that made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So when we go over recovery principle number 4 this morning, we're going to use that list and that information to compose our step 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Became willing.
I'm going to stop there. Because that is the actual step we are on.
today. I believe this is part 5. And so, as you can see, you will say, Edwina, you keep repeating the same thing over and over again, over and over again. Well, guess what? Huh? We are creatures of habit. And repetition is crucial in a 12-step program. Very crucial. It is essential. It is the foundation. It is the foundation for everyone, no matter what entry we come into recovery in, where we are in recovery, and as a reminder, right? So, yes, repetition is crucial because we never know when the student is ready so the teacher can appear. We never know when the student needs to go to the next spiritual level so additional teachers can appear. We never know when the student has achieved a certain level of increased maturity that he is challenged even more. And those additional teachers will continue to appear, right? It's about making progress, not achieving perfection. And so, as we deal with life on life terms and we begin to practice these principles in all our affairs, and we learn to use spiritual angles on any and all physical conditions, then we need to be reminded. Yes, we need to repeat to get a deeper understanding, to go a little lower, right? To go to that iceberg and width and in depth, right? To unravel that onion, keep unraveling that onion till we get to the core of our very essence. So repetition is important. You may have heard, you may be hearing, but the goal is to listen. And listening takes on different levels of comprehension, understanding, yes, instructions, guidance. And so when you keep hearing things over and over and over and over and over again, your first interpretation may be one thing, but if you keep listening, you will have another interpretation, and hopefully it's from a spiritual angle. So that's why repetition is so important in a 12-step program. That's why we have been so successful over 80 plus years, close to 90 years, because we know that the information that is provided is basically the same, but it depends on the level of entry of the spirit in that person that is introduced, a part of, and continue to exist in a 12-step program. Yes, it's a journey, I shared yesterday in my meeting, most of us are in the process of this or that because everything is a process. Everything is a process. Everything is a process. Let me get these earrings out, right? Everything is a process. And I shared yesterday with these 12 spiritual principles, you will get to see how, yes, I was in the process, couldn't see it. But once you have experienced being in the process, now you can look at the process of before, during. You can look at the process. Why? Because you need to find out not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you. Where were you in that process? Why did you make that decision? Why did you make that choice? Because you was in the process. And once you came out of the process and able to look at the process, you can see, all righty then. Okay, that information is to teach you a lesson. It is not to say you're bad or good, up or down, round or flat, right? Information that can increase your spiritual maturity if you begin to look at the process of those processes that you have been engaged in. That's why I thank God. I thank God that I accepted that everything is a process. So while we're in this process now with COVID-19, we are in it. We are in the process of this COVID-19. And there's going to come a time when we will come out of it and we're going to look back at that process in order to do what? To learn a lesson, to learn something that we missed before, to learn that we are human, but we are human beings, and we need to practice these spiritual principles, right? And use these spiritual principles from a spiritual angle on any and all physical conditions. All right, so let's get back to recovery principle number 8, because I tell you, Lord, I love you. I love you. I love you. Okay, so yesterday we were talking about the section of Jason Waller's breakdown where he focused on forgiveness and a bunch of cool spiritual principles, right? And so let's see what we reviewed yesterday and continue with what is remaining. It says, there is no love without forgiveness, and there is no forgiveness without love. And this is by Bryant H. McGill. So if you marinate on that statement, in a 12-step program, we know that each word has a specific meaning. Each phrase has a different meaning, right? Each sentence has a different meaning, and we need to dissect it by letter, by word, by phrase, by sentence, by paragraph. Yes, until we are awakened and receive that spiritual angle. So that's why repetition is so important. You have to keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it. Oh, yes. So there is no love without forgiveness, and there is no forgiveness without love. Thank God he is the creator of us all. All right, so he says, I'm just going to read what we went over yesterday. Spiritual principles abound in step 8. Forgiveness, honesty, courage, willingness, accountability, humility, and compassion are some of the biggies. Why? Because we are making a list of each and every individual, agency, organization. But we're talking about individuals, but the other ones have a part too of those we have caused harm to in some way, shape, form, or fashion, particularly regarding COVID-19. So yes, I put myself first on the list, and how I know I caused harm to myself, and contracting COVID-19. I put the list. I put my grandchildren on the list, other families on the list, people that I was in my 12-step meeting on the list. Yes. Places that I frequented, stores, banks, agencies. Yes. Yes, I caused harm in one shape, form, or fashion. And I became willing to make amends to myself and to everybody else. Yes. And so when they talk about spiritual principles abound in step 8, forgiveness, honesty, courage, willingness, accountability, humility, and compassion are just some of the biggies. He goes on to say, by listing who we believe we have harmed, we are holding ourselves accountable. By admitting we are human and have made mistakes, we develop compassion for ourselves. By forgiving those who have harmed us, we are set free. Extending a decent dose of authentic love requires humility. and knowing that these actions will not only help in your recovery, or you not contracting COVID-19, or you not infecting others to contract COVID-19, also benefits the greater good, and it requires a fair amount of trust. So when we think about love and humility, right? And compassion for others, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Think about it. Regarding this COVID-19, when we see people not washing their hands, not wearing a mask, think of the times you didn't. Like for me, for instance, yes. So we caused harm. So once we learn these spiritual principles and apply these spiritual angles to any and all physical conditions, including COVID-19, we will achieve that psychic change. We will be restored to sanity, soundness of mind. All right. And so here is what Jason Wallers has broke down. He says, repairing burned bridges. Step 8, questions and actions. Okay, so we're going to go by them one by one, right, until we conclude this section. All right, so it says, step 8 helps build awareness that little by little we are gaining new attitudes about ourselves and how we deal with other people. Regarding this pandemic, regarding what? The wearing of the mask, the washing of the hands, the social distancing, the wearing the mask, getting tested, getting vaccinated, right? Step 8 helps build awareness that little by little we are gaining new attitudes about ourselves and how we deal with other people. All right, so here we go. Question number 1. Here are some questions to help guide you through working step 8 as it relates to COVID-19. Now, remember, we're changing the area of focus from Jason Waller's applying this to alcoholism and drug addiction. We are changing the area of focus to applying them to COVID-19. Okay? All right. So, question number 1. Are there resentments in the way of your willingness to make amends? Are there resentments in the way of your willingness to make amends? Well, who's first on that list? You are. So you mean to tell me you have a resentment against yourself to making amends to yourself? Really? I told you when I had that resentment against me, regarding COVID-19, because I was defiant, I was rebellious, I was stubborn, I was self-centered, I was egotistical. Yes, I had a resentment against myself because I know I contributed to contracting COVID-19. Me, when I read that result said positive, woo, oh Lordy me. Positive? Yes, Edwina, you tested positive for COVID-19. Now let's go back in your step work to see how you contributed to contracting COVID-19. So that first question says, are there any resentments in the way of your willingness to make amends? Hell to the no. I made amends to myself because I don't want anybody to go through what I went through, right? You talking about a rude awakening? And I had the information but didn't use it. That goes to show you why repetition is so important. Why did I have that feeling of being invincible when it came to COVID-19? So yes, I don't have any resentments or willingness to make amends to myself. And when I learn to make amends to myself, I can do it for others, starting with members of my own family. Yes, that's question number 1. Are there resentments in the way of your willingness to make amends? Do you still want to be humiliated opposed to being humble and practicing some humility? Huh? You better get to stepping. Question number 2. Are you hesitating in any way before working on the 8th step? Are you hesitating in any way before working on the 8th step? If so, why? Huh? Let's talk about that for a minute. Why would you hesitate? Why would you hesitate to start your 8th step? Is it based on fear? Is it based on knowing others you have harmed? Is it based on you being found out that you were a liar, you were manipulative, you had that nonchalant, I don't care attitude? Is that what's stopping you from doing your 8th step? You don't want to be exposed? All right, no problem. To their own self be true. Admit it. Just like the first step, when we admit it, right? And our life is unmanageable. Same thing with recovery principle number 8. We need to face why we are hesitating and deal with those character defects that are fear in its exact nature form, so that we can be set free by exposing everyone we might have caused harm to, putting them on the list, and become willing to be set free and make amends to them all. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay? Now, I see we don't have time, but tomorrow we're going to go over the remaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more steps regarding, 8 more questions regarding recovery principle number 8 and making that list. All right. So I hope you enjoyed and listened to what was presented today during this conversation, so that you can even ask yourself now, are you in the prevention, intervention, or restoration mode of COVID-19? Are you being proactive, reactive, inactive, or responsible regarding COVID-19? Are you willing to do any and everything, like get the stepping to stop the perpetuation of this devastating pandemic and its variants? Are you willing to be a part of the solution? Well, you can be, just by applying these 12 spiritual principles and practicing them on the 12 steps to COVID-19. The CDC suggestions: washing your hands, wearing a mask, social distancing, contact tracing, getting tested, and getting vaccinated. All right. So the goal right now is to get as many people vaccinated as possible. So before I close and acknowledge my sponsors again, let me show you my 2 shots. Okay. First of all, this is what I looked like when I had COVID-19. Wait a minute, y'all. Let me get that off the screen. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. Wait. Okay. Yeah. Wait a minute. All right. Wait. So that's me, right? Let me take this off and let's put this on here. Let's take that off. Okay. All right. So here I am with COVID-19. Okay. And gotten better. Right. All right. Here is me with and let me show you another one. Here is me with members of my family, right? Who I got their pillars. They're behind me now, who had contracted COVID-19. Okay. And so I just want to let you know, wait a minute now. Here I am being vaccinated, right? So let's get some of this stuff off of here. Let's
All right. Put your band-aid on.
come on. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Right.
And
So I got my
then
first shot there.
we'll give you a
Okay.
date in about
All
a
right.
month.
Here's my second shot. Here's my second shot. Here's my second shot. Right. Come on. Here's my second shot. A shot of hope. Yes, all right.
Oh,
So
wow.
now you see that we can
Set for 15
do
minutes.
what is
Okay.
necessary,
Alrighty,
all
good.
You'll
right?
be out the
So
door.
let me
All right.
close out with my sponsors. Okay, just bear with me one more second, y'all, because I have to acknowledge my sponsors. They are helping me to keep this thing going. And if it's God's will, as I shared before, I want to be able to become syndicated, So if y'all know how, who, what, when, and where, let me know. All right. So we have MDB Associates, Patchwork Human Services, Levante and Dorsey and Associates, Academy of Peace, Crafty Crab Seafood Restaurant, Free to Hope. We also have Women Do Hall, Transportation Services. We have Mr. C's Barbershop, right? We have let's see, where am I? We have Morgans of Delaware and Lady T at Morgans of Delaware, Jewelry by Catherine Butler, Jones Accessory of Philadelphia, Morning Wake Up with Tamika Strickland, and Divine Light Recovery Center and Supportive Housing. So if it's God's will that we are joined tomorrow for day 108, then I will be glad to be reunited with you and remind you for just today, be safe, wash your hands, practice social distancing, contact tracing, wear the mask, get tested, and get vaccinated. Until we meet again, be safe. All right, so let me show you the back of my book and I will close out. All right, all right, so let's see here. Wait a minute. Come on. Here we go. Nope, that's not the one I want. I tell you, man, listen, I love this stuff. Bye, y'all. Okay.